Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Cool Down Lap podcast, episode 5. Um, I'm here. This is the 8th driver, Anthony Castor, for the Cup Series. James, you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Good evening, everybody. I'm James J. I do the broadcast for the Truck Series on Friday nights, the Cup Series on Sunday evenings, and the Road Series on Tuesdays. And we have a great time with it. So, part of the broadcast team. And we're joined tonight with Justin Thaler as well. Justin?
Hey, everybody. Justin Thaler, driver of the 00, currently running in Truck Series, the Cup Series, as well as the Road Series.
All right, guys. So we're gonna go ahead and kick off the this week's in Motorsports segment. James, what do you got?
Man, I read some interesting news today on the IMSA front. You know, the 24 Hours of Daytona was this weekend. I caught all but about 6 hours while I was asleep of it. I had it always running in my earbuds in the ears, alternating as they went back and forth on the charger, but didn't miss a lap other than 6 hours I was asleep. And it was an amazing race. But some news came down today about the race finishing a little bit short. So I don't know if you saw, but they threw the white with like 3 minutes to go and threw the checker with a minute and 40 to go or something crazy like that. So it's not the 24 hours of Daytona, it's the 23 hours, 58 minutes, and 40 seconds of Daytona this year. Hope it doesn't turn into a big fiasco.
Yeah, hopefully not. I got to see a little bit of the race. I wasn't as dedicated as you, I guess, but it was some good racing. I got to see it was a Connor Zilic throwing some moves out there for his first time in an LMP2.
17 years old.
And that's insane.
Driving a prototype at Daytona. Yeah.
Yeah. Jay, did you get to watch any of the 24?
Oh, absolutely. Myself, Kleckner, and another friend of ours, Dan, we have a group chat, and it's primarily focused more around F1, but we were all kind of chatting, and a couple of the funny texts that went back and forth right as that odd checker came out was, quote, Roger said stop the count. And then I sent a picture of the infamous, what was it, 2021 or 22, the Toto, it's called a motor race.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of stuff going on. I think it was awesome, not only on a personal achievement level for one of the Penske drivers, and you'll soon quickly figure out who I'm talking to, but to win the Indy 500 and then less than a year turn around, drive, and win the Rolex 24 is just phenomenal. And kudos, to Roger Penske and the whole Team Penske organization for winning the Indy 500 Cup Series champions. Daytona 5, not Daytona. Did they win Daytona? No, Ricky Stenhouse won. But as well as the Rolex, and I feel like there's another one in there I'm missing. For Penske, but just an amazing and rich tradition and history of motor racing. It was pretty cool to see that, and to think, these GTPs, this is only their second year running, and to look, I mean, early on in that race in the GTP class, the caddies looked like the two cars to beat, right? And it's a long race. Some stuff kind of changed throughout the night shift and everything else. But I mean, Caddy was there at the very end, and as you were watching those final, say, 7 to 10 minutes, all that time being made up was in the braking zone. So I don't know if it's a car difference or the Cadillac team is more confident with the car, especially under braking, but they seem to really close up to Felipe Nasser and the Porsche there. So It was a nail biter there coming towards the end. It was amazing that it ended with the top two overall cars less than a second when the checker come out.
I love that. It's incredible. I don't want to get too far in the weeds. Justin, you might know about this because you mentioned the braking, but when the Porsches had to do a couple of drive-throughs, I think it was the other car, for regenerating too much energy under braking. So they have limits on how much they could regen per lap, and or maybe it's a time window or something. I'm not sure how that works, but could that be why the number 7 didn't seem to
Yeah,
have as much an advantage in the braking? They were playing it on the safe side. I don't know.
I think there's also a stipulation, and I could be completely wrong, but I believe I'm pretty sure it's definitely for Le Mans, and I would assume since the cars are the same for IMSA, but I believe you also have to use a set amount of that regenerative power throughout a lap, I believe. So maybe they overused it as well. I honestly don't know. I might not have caught that exact explanation of the broadcast, but I did see that they did have to go into the penalty box. But yeah, there's some weird rule there, James. It could go either way, I think.
All good. I just hate that we don't always hear that technical side of it. Probably because it's confusing, which it is. But the rules are there for a reason, and the technology is going to carry over into the road cars. So I think it's important that they use motorsports as a testing bed for that, and we see that in Formula One too, with all the technology that comes through. It eventually trickles down, even if it's 10 or 15 years later and a little bit different than what the original idea was. But to use it as a testing bed, um, I'm all for it. I just wish it was explained a little better. But
Yeah, I agree. I mean, because there's a lot of people who don't. I mean, I really don't follow IMSA on a scheduled basis, but for anybody a fan of motor racing, if you tune in, they can't cover everything, but those little pieces of information, they could definitely just do a quick little, hey, this is what, it's kind of similar to what NASCAR does with the cutaway car and kind of explaining the technology. It doesn't have to be, a 20-minute segment, but just something cool for the fans to kind of further see and understand. And
IMSA needs a Larry Mack, I think.
100%,
Oh man,
100%. And the other
Larry.
thing was, I believe it was it Jensen Button, when they were talking to a lot of the drivers before the race, he pretty much said the amount of technology in the GTPs like just trumps a modern F1 car, which is amazing to think about.
Right.
That is actually pretty crazy with all the data points and stuff they can pull off of those F1 cars.
Absolutely. It was a good race either way.
Yeah.
I loved it.
JT, you got anything?
The only thing that I kind of want to touch base about, and it's more of a rub on a certain F1 driver, was I can understand it, but I think it's going to be a long couple of years continually for Charles Leclerc signing an extension with Scuderia Ferrari F1. So the pain will probably continue for whatever reason. I mean, I get it. They're one of the top teams history wise within the sport of F1. Just haven't been able to deliver for quite a long time, and I can see Charles's desire to kind of be that guy to return glory to Ferrari in terms of hopefully winning a world championship and constructors as well. But that dude's been kind of just kicked continually right where it matters, like year after year. So hopefully they change strategists and they can kind of figure it out. But all the memes on Formula Dank on Reddit and everywhere else were in full force the other day when that announcement was made. So
Yeah. So who do you think leaves Ferrari first? Do you think it's Charles or Carlos?
fortunately, I think Carlos. The rumors are is so his dad races for drives for Audi and the car rally. With Audi being the next team supposedly coming into Formula One. They'll need driver lineup. So a lot of the speculation is that Carlos Sainz will be moved over to the Audi Works team in Formula One. I'm personally a big Carlos fan. I think he is a more well-rounded driver than Charles is, but I don't think that. I mean, Charles was, I believe, he's the youngest driver in history to get a ride at Ferrari. Somebody might need to fact check me, but he didn't do too many years at Alfa Romeo within the Ferrari Academy, and they pulled him right up pretty quickly. So I think he's kind of that Max Verstappen esque to Ferrari as Max is to Red Bull. He's their protege, and I think he's going to stay there as long. And Carlos is a little older as well, so they're going to try and replace him for sure. Well, before if Charles doesn't leave, but I don't see any seats that look enticing anywhere else, to be honest.
Yeah.
That was going to be my question: is if not Ferrari, where does Charles Leclerc go if he wants to stay in Formula One? Pretty much the only seat available.
Yeah, I mean, Max is still there for a couple more years.
Alonso's never going to retire. He's going to be like 80.
Yeah, and Lando, he made a good point. Like, I believe he might have signed an extension as well. But I mean, him and Max are friends off the track and everything. They're good buddies. But even he flat out said, like, yeah, who would want to be Max's, second driver? And the Red Bull's never gonna, there's a whole story, and to Max's credit, he's ungodly talented. I'm not saying anything, to discredit his ability and talent as a driver. He's phenomenal. But it's almost like what we've seen this year with George and Lewis at Mercedes. So there's going to be a lot of, well, I'm the next guy up. It's my turn now, and then you have the old guard. You know, example Lewis Hamilton there, who still has the talent and the drive to succeed. But I don't know how you go to Red Bull and you know keep your head in the right place when the best driver right now is your teammate. I mean that just raises the bar like astronomically high.
Reminds me of Rubens Barrichello and Michael Schumacher.
Yeah, another one. Yep.
Yeah, it's just Formula One, the way of the world in Formula One. The only time
Yeah.
Rubens won is when Michael broke or pulled over and let him go.
Yeah, I mean it's like you said, you hit the nail on the head. That's Formula One. If you can get a good guy and basically say this is your place, you're just here to bag points and really not. If this guy's ahead of you, you don't overtake. Basically.
Yeah. Before I go into my this week in motorsports, Justin, I have one question for you. Do you believe that Max will end up retiring in the next 3 or 4 years?
I think I mean he's gonna continue to creep towards potentially breaking the 7 championships. I think he's gonna want, if he gets to 6, he's not gonna want to stop. I mean,
For sure.
It's going to change. He said a lot about with if they change the engines and all this other stuff to anything other than internal combustion, then yeah, he's going to be out. I think it'd be cool to see him. I don't think he ever would, but I think it would be very interesting for him to get a ride in a NASCAR series. He has talent, but with the disciplines being polar opposite, it would be very, very interesting to watch him run. Multiple seasons. I don't want a 3-race type of deal, like 3-4 races like Kimmy did back in the day, and kind of just never return to it. I would like to really see him run a full season or 3 or so, just to see what he can do. In a completely different discipline. He's very into endurance races. He does a lot of the big sim races. I think his team won the GT3 class in his split in iRacing a couple weeks ago, and he does a lot of the Le Mans races and things like that. So there's a possibility we could see him go for, if he goes to into Le Mans and wins Le Mans, there's a possibility you could see him trying to get into the Indy 500 and go for the Triple Crown.
Yeah. I mean, they talk about all the greatest drivers being able to kind of transition over to a different discipline in a way and pull off wins there. I'd love to see Max go into something like IMSA or heck, maybe try his hand at some oval or something different, just to see him kind of see how he transitions. But
I think you guys are living in fantasy land. That is bonkers. He's gonna retire at 7 championships, and he's gonna go in the booth like Nico Rosberg and try to pretend like he's the expert and he knows it all. I don't see Max Verstappen doing anything oval related.
It would be cool because I honestly think he would fit right in with his driving style and his race is hard attitude, and I think he'd be a good fit for NASCAR.
Yeah.
I mean, if they could draw him there, think how big they could make that, overseas. It would go crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I'd love to see it. I just think his ego is too big to fit in anything with a greenhouse.
Yeah, that's a good point.
But we can dream, though. It's all right. I mean, prove me wrong. I'm just being the contrarian, really. I have a lot of respect for Max and his talent. Don't get me wrong, but I don't know. I just think he's, like I said, I think he's got an ego.
Oh, 100%. I mean, you wouldn't want to see the Red Bull livery come back to NASCAR?
I'd love to see it. Absolutely. I'd love to see it. I'd love to see him get beat. I think I'd love to see him outside the top 10. Maybe the NASCAR guys will humble him a little bit.
Yeah, I know, right?
Afraid of.
Could you imagine back in the day if he did do that and like Tony Stewart was still around, he'd put him in his place real quick.
Yeah.
Oh man, he'd get punched in the mouth.
Put him in the wall at 200 miles an hour.
Yeah.
I'm gonna end that segment on everybody I believe in NASCAR has an ego, so I think he'd fit right in. For my this week in motorsports, I'm gonna beat that drum again. We are down to 6 days to the Clash. I'm personally not a fan of it going to the Coliseum. I'd love to see it go back to Daytona, but it's racing, and I get it. It's probably going to be a boring race, but dang it, I get to hear those engines fire up, and I get to watch them go around and get to see that NASCAR is back. So that is my this week in motorsports. Are you guys excited to see NASCAR back in the swing of things?
Go for it, Justin.
I mean, there's cars going around a track that's as big as a washing machine. I'll pass it to James.
I like it. I don't mind it being at the Coliseum. I think this is the last year they're going to have it at the Coliseum. It's time for something new. They usually do things like, I think, 3 years at a time, but I think this is kind of overstayed its welcome, to you guys' points that um, it is just a little bull ring, way overpowered. You can't really race when you're that tight confinements, but Bowman Gray sells out every race they have, and it's about the same size, and it's modified. It's not even top tier drivers. I think its purpose was served by bringing the race to the people of the city that may not have gone to a NASCAR race otherwise because of all the hoopla around it, the concerts and the parties and whatever else they're doing. So it's just another way. You have to keep trying new stuff. I think if you do the same thing over and over again, the newness wears off. So I think the newness is worn off the Coliseum, and I think we're all ready for something different. But one thing I know for sure is that we're all ready to hear the NASCAR cars fire up those engines and start racing, and we're just ready for the new season.
Absolutely.
Yep, that is for sure. So that concludes our This Week in Motorsports segment. Guys, once I stop being a scrub at this, plan on posting some polls tonight just to kind of get your guys' feedback on some of the things we discussed. So be on the lookout in the Discord channels. We want your guys' opinions, and we'll go over the results next week on the podcast. So we're going to go ahead and transition into our truck series. You guys will have to excuse me. I don't have any sweet screenshots this week. We had something come up to where we couldn't gather our screenshots, so we're going to make do with the placards. So the truck series was at Old Atlanta this week. Old Atlanta is a fun track, way better than the new Atlanta, in my opinion. That might ruffle some feathers. 3 different racing lines, fast track. Once that wears in, you can race top, bottom, and middle. Justin, did you happen to participate in the truck race?
I sat last week out. I wanted to run a couple of officials actually, so but yeah, I sat last week out.
Yeah, I got to watch it while I was doing some chores around the house today. It looked like it was a interesting race. I did see one massive pile up on a restart that I definitely did not want to be any part of. James, did you get to see that?
I did. I watched it over. I want to give a shout out to Colin Huffman, who stuck around and spent his Friday night, even though I was occupied with some family obligations. Colin said he still wanted to run the cameras, and he did so and threw up to replays, thankfully. And that one pilot that you're talking about was in the first stage, and Robert Sanders on the front row dumped the clutch and must have been in first gear and spun it in front of everybody. 21 trucks. I don't think anybody got away without some damage. So, yeah, that was pretty interesting to watch. But, first of all, I want to go back to the very beginning. And I have a little beef with iRacing on this one. It's because they call it the old Atlanta. Now, I remember that Atlanta. And so I think they're inadvertently calling me old. And I might be, but I don't want it thrown in my face every time the truck series goes to that track, man, because that track was awesome. I remember being there for the Polish victory lap the first time it happened in Jeff Gordon's first race, and I was there. So you can call it old Atlanta all you want, but that's how old school I am. But it turned out to be a fuel run. I mean, I really thought it was going to end up being a tire race. So we won't spill it for you, but I will tell you that Mike Cochran ended up winning by over 8 seconds. And he did not lead the last few laps. So I'm going to go back and because Colin did such a good job on the cameras, I'm going to go back and do either a voiceover, maybe a highlights reel, but the whole hour I could probably talk about it. So we'll see how it goes. But keep it on the Twitch stream for some more on that. But congratulations to Mark Cochran for the win, and it was a great race. Michael Samia was back after missing a couple of races, so it's good to see him. And I don't know if you want to talk. It's the end of the regular season, so we're coming into the chases for all three Oval Series. So I
Yeah.
don't know if you want to talk about those at the end, or did you plan on
Yeah.
talking about the season winners as we
Heck,
go through the series?
let's go ahead and touch on this season's winner. It looks like the Truck Series winner here was Dustin Reinstedel. Looks like
Again,
Congratulations.
it looks like he was able to pull out a 6-point lead on Brandon Thayer, and a hard charging Albert Williams was 19 points back. JT, you pulled off a top 5 there in the standings, and
Nice.
Michael Scamilla there in 6th. I mean, it looked like a pretty competitive field throughout most of the season, especially with the points being that tight. It shows that there were some contenders there. So good job to you, Dustin, on your regular season championship. Let's see if you can pull through it and bring home the playoff championship.
back to back,
Yeah.
Yeah.
two in a row for Dustin Reinstedel. So I don't know if that's been done before.
I'd have to go through our past winners and see if we've had any back-to-backs. Normally, I don't think.
It's just regular season too. I don't want to. I say just. I don't mean it that it's
Yeah.
only.
Oh,
12
discredit regular season, guys. Yeah.
races.
So the bonus points, as you guys can see on the screen, this is all going to be calculated before the start of the next race. Points are going to reset, and these bonus points are going to be applied to the top 12. That way, the points are all accurate. So next week, you guys should see an updated points layout after the next race, and it's going to shake out to be a fun run to the championship in the Truck Series. So, James, you got anything else you want to touch on trucks?
No, it's great, man. It's great racing. I'm looking forward to the season championships playoffs kick off at Richmond.
Yes, me too. The Xfinity Series was also at Atlanta Oval non-super speedway. Is that better, James?
Much better, Ant. I noticed that. Thank you.
The Xfinity Series, it looked like a relatively clean race for the first 2 stages. Looks like the guys started to get into a couple yellow tendencies after that second stage, which normally happens. Everybody starts to check up the aggression just a little bit to try and get that checkered flag and just start getting into each other. But one thing I seen that was interesting in this race, Michael Scamilla, who won the race, was actually involved in an accident in the third stage. Looked like he got wrapped up in an accident and had a blown engine because he was smoking on his way back to the pits. He must have had 1 or 2 of those fast repairs stashed so he could get it up and running since he won the race. But kudos to Michael Scamilla on his win. It sounded like that one was also a strategy win, so good job to him.
Yeah. Congratulations.
Yep. So we're going to go ahead and dive into the Xfinity Series points for the regular season. And it looks like Dustin Reinstedel was able to bring home the regular season championship. Michael Scamilla there in second, 94 points behind. Drew Alvarez in third, 117. Corbin Fleckenstein in fourth, 131. Clarence Prince in fifth, 148 points behind. Albert Williams was starting to creep towards that top 5, 149 points back. So kudos to him, and great job to Colin Huffman bringing it home in the top 12 there. So he is part of the playoffs. Anything you see there, James, that kind of stands out to you?
Dustin Reinstedel, again, on the top of the bonus points. So he's going to have a lot of a big advantage heading into the chase. But we have to run all the races. So you don't take the hats to victory lane yet.
Yeah. It looks like Albert's starting to warm up in the Xfinity Series as well. He's cutting into that bonus points there. So with I believe it's 10 races in the chase, he's going to be somebody Dustin's going to have to fight with down to the wire. So we'll go ahead and move on to the Cup Series. The Cup Series was not in Atlanta. We instead went to Dover, which turned out to be one of the 7 stages of hell.
Mm-hmm. Dante's
So
Inferno.
Dante's Inferno, man. We found out the hard way. That track eats tires. The Monster Mile ate tires. So I'll do a quick summary on what I seen out there. I mean, that track, when you thought you had a groove and tires were sticking and everything just felt like it was going good, either you'd come out of a corner and the rear end of that car would just sling you up towards the wall, or it'd sling you down towards the other wall. I mean, in all honesty, once you got complacent there, that track just came right out from underneath of you. Justin, I mean, you were basically owning part of that wall. I mean, what were you seeing?
A lot of sweet love was made to the right side of my Woods brother Ford Mustang. Yeah, I mean, I did what I thought was, I guess, enough practice and felt comfortable with, the test sessions I ran about the tire wear, and stage 1 quickly put that basically upside down for me. A lot of patience and just trying to take care of it. It was so easy, you want to keep momentum, off of the corner. But like you said, it would just push. You couldn't stay in throttle. You'd have to check up. And if there's a guy real tight with you to your rear bumper, it made it difficult for them. They were either trying to check up as well or dive down towards the bottom. But it was hard to pass there, especially if you have more pace. But it wasn't my favorite race, so I could take it or leave it, I guess. I'll be prepared next time.
I kind of hope there's not a next time with that track.
What was different about what you practiced, Justin? Was the track temp different? Was it ambient different?
No, my mindset to practice is just kind of, I really ease into it. I did about probably 30 laps or so just trying to find a good line and where to pick up throttle, where to come off throttle on entry, how much brake I needed to help rotate the car and so forth. And once I usually figure that out, if it's a track I'm not either comfortable or familiar with, I'll go back into the pits, refuel, get 4 fresh tires, and then I'll try and push it as far as I can, see what my best lap time is throughout maybe a 15-20 lap run, put new tires on it, and then try and figure out the fall off. And to be honest, my longest run was probably 30 laps, and the tires never felt bad to me. And then once we got into the race, it was ridiculous how much I burned up my right front through that first stage. So it just, for whatever reason, it just like flip flopped on me. And then the whole race, I was more concerned about, what the hell do I do now, and when can I start pushing and pick up my pace and so forth. So it just really kind of mid race, it 180 and threw everything that I did preparation wise just right out the window. So it was more of a, what do I have to do just to try and finish well and bring it home, rather than trusting that I can push for this length of the race and get my head down.
Justin, do you mind sharing what your right front tire was at after that first stage?
Yeah, I don't care. It was 23.
23%.
I don't know. I mean, I was trying to back up entry, and finally I just moved up like 2 lanes and let it roll through. And Was able to conserve. And then I had a really bad pit stop where I don't know if I accidentally hit right sides on my button box, but I used a set of rights way earlier. So like I pretty much went pretty damn long, I think from like the end of stage 2 to kind of into stage 3 on that one set. And had I not made that error, I would have had an extra set and I could have at least taken rights one more time than what I wanted to, because I really I couldn't push there, in the last half or so. The last 2 stops, I really couldn't push as much as I should have been able to.
Yeah, for sure. I'm going to make a quick point, and then James, if you have any points you want to make after, it felt like that first stage was kind of a. I think it kind of burnt most people's tires that first stage, but it felt like as the race went on, the tire wear slowly went away. Like it wasn't wearing near as bad halfway, 3/4, and towards the end of the race as what it was at the beginning. So some interesting things. I personally feel that it's part of the oval refresh that iRacing's been doing, and I'm also going to put that on a poll and see if anybody else has kind of experienced it or thinks they're experiencing it.
One quick question for you: would you do under green flag 2 or 4?
I did 2 at that last.
So I ran like 60 laps on just lefts in practice and put 2 on, and my lap times were almost. I mean, they were maybe a 10th and a half off of my fastest. So I took rights under green.
Yeah.
Because when the lefts were worn in pretty well, it didn't feel any different to me.
Yeah.
But clearly, I was driving the shit out of it.
Yeah. James, what do you got?
Oh man, well, I personally loved track. I loved the race. On the outside looking in, I thought it was great, and I'm okay with it being a surprise for the drivers. I mean, for the entertainment factor alone, you guys, if you know what it is and know exactly what's going to happen and when to put on tires and exactly when to maximize all the strength, and it's more of a foregone conclusion of what's going to happen. So I don't mind the surprises to you guys at all. It makes it fun for me. Um, my big takeaway from the race was Brandon Cotton, though, in the 60 car. I thought he was doing great. He was the only one to lead multiple laps that weren't in a pit cycle, although he did go off strategy, and that may have been where he led most of his laps after getting tangled up in something, was put him off strategy. But he almost made it work. And that final stop, that final run, he, man, when he had fresh tires, he almost made up 2 laps before in the 15 or 18 laps between the next, by the time Albert Williams and Dustin came in for their final stop, and by then all the good had worn out. So anyway, when Albert Williams came out of the pits, it was only like a second in front of Brandon Cotton, and I thought he was going to undercut him because there were 15 lap. That was a 15 lap undercut and a very big risk to try. But I guess you gotta take those challenges to see if they work. If you're not going to win on outright speed. My other takeaway was I almost didn't recognize Justin in the Wood Brothers livery as opposed to the Castrol Edge. What did RFK fire you, Justin? What?
Well, if Woods Brothers had the funding, then yes, they fired me. No. So iRacing updated the next gen Toyota Camry and the Ford Mustang. So I loaded into the test session. I was looking at my car and the paint's all off because that whole front end changed with the Ford and with the Toyota. So unfortunately, um, I love the Castrol scheme. I love that scheme. Unfortunately, it was pretty jacked up, and I didn't want to take the time to mess around with, trying to fix the paint and add the decals back on and this, that, and the other. So, I was kind of scouring, trading paints for a scheme that looked like it was already updated for the Dark Horse. And I'm no stranger to the Woods Brothers Motorcraft scheme. I used to run that in the truck series as well. So um, it's a beautiful scheme. It's probably one of my really. I mean, it's such an iconic one. How can anybody not like that scheme? Um, if I could figure out how to do the gold numbers, I would. But I think the black kind of it looks a little more modern. I like it, but um, I found that one for the Dark Horse, and I was like, well, that's it. I'm going to be running that one for a while.
I like the Dark Horse. I think it looks awesome.
It does. It does. I do like it a lot. But yeah, we'll see, man. Maybe in a little while, I'll check on Trading Paints, see if there's another Castrol one out there, and you'll see. Maybe I'll make a return. I'm hoping.
So speaking, James, about the drivers going in and being surprised and that kind of lending to it. I wish somebody would send that memo to Ty Williams there, because that kid is, man, he keeps coming out and just running the field. He's quick, and I was kind of scratching my head at how he could sustain the pace he did for as long as he did and not end up with 20% tires or 2% tire wear, um, like one of the other drivers we've heard. But um, he's on a hot streak, man, and he's taking it into the championship run here. Ty Williams, 81, did end up winning the race. Justin won the championship, the regular season championship. So we'll see. We'll see how this all plays out. I'm gonna go ahead and throw the points up for the season by 2 points. Justin, you pulled it out over Dustin. That's 2 positions on the track, man. After that hard fought race you had where you basically destroyed that wall at Dover. Congrats on bringing home the Cup Series regular season championship.
Yeah, thank you. We'll see. Maybe I'll have something in the chase, but Ty Williams has some momentum right now, and there's not a whole lot of tracks in the chase I think I'm going to be strong at. So I will do my best to impersonate Martin Truex Jr. for the second year in a
row. Kind of fall into the Final Four.
Yeah, we'll see.
It does look like we have Watkins Glen, I believe, is in the chase. So, I mean, you're usually really good there. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah. So, yeah. Dustin in second, 2 points behind. Myself in third, 89 points behind. Ty Williams, 102 points behind in fourth. And Jason Huffman, 104 points behind. Give a shout out here to, it feels like I'm doing it every week, Norm Snyder there, bringing home 6th. For a guy coming into the series, saying he wanted to stay out of all the scuffles and just, pick up racecraft as he runs. 6th place on the season. That's a hell of a way to do it, Norm. Congrats, man. And your dad there in 11th, sneaking into the chase. So, congrats, guys. Everybody, good luck in the chase for whatever series you're running in, whether it be the Trucks, Xfinity, or Cup. And we'll see how everything shakes out.
Yep. Good luck, everybody.
So we're going to go ahead and head over to the Road Series. James, you want to go ahead and talk about the Road Series?
Yeah. Well, the Road Series is winding down. It's been an incredibly long season. 20 race season. It seems like a lot for the Road Series. So race 19 was at the Hungary track, Hungaroring, and man, it was a lot of fun. We did something new in the broadcast where we had Max Bauer do a qualifying lap. We rode along with him and had him explain to us what he was looking at and where he was driving. So that was kind of cool. We're going to try to do the same thing again this week, next week, tomorrow night, actually, at Silverstone. So you're not going to want to miss that. Tune in to the Rivenvale Twitch at 7:30 tomorrow night, Tuesday night. But yeah, back to Hungary, man, it was a incredible race. Max Bauer and Jason Phillips. Jason Phillips put it on pole. Max Bauer followed him until the pit stop, and for some reason, Jason stuck around in the pits for an extra 2 seconds. And Max Bauer took over and never looked back. There was lots of good racing deeper in the field. I know Justin was in a battle with Francis Faustino and a couple other guys for several laps. And at that track, it's really hard to find a place to pass. Justin, you were there. What did you think about the race at Hungaroring? You like that track? I know it's a Formula One heavy track, so tell me what you saw in your return.
Honestly, it's not even near the middle of my list of tracks that I enjoy, but it's a track that takes a lot of patience. Really setting up the corner to get the car to rotate and maybe sacrificing entry for exit. It doesn't seem like it, but it is a very, in my opinion, technical track. Every corner you have to set up for the corner after. So it takes a lot of patience. It's very technical. Duked it out with Francis, which was a hell of a time, and I enjoyed every second of it. It kind of reminded me of the Brands Hatch race where, I had to battle him in the sprint race as well as in the feature there, and it was a lot of fun. There was a lot of like you said, it's very hard to pass. So you don't want to waste too much time, but necessarily sitting behind a guy for 1 to 2 laps and just trying to figure out where you're stronger definitely pays off at the Hungaroring. But I loved the ride along with Max for the quali. I thought that was super cool. He did a great job, and he's no stranger to talking to you guys, so he fit right in and sounded comfortable doing it. So it was great. It's been a great road season, and gearing up for the next one.
What do you know about Silverstone? You like it? You feeling good about your chances?
I've never liked Silverstone. It just doesn't do it for me. I'm not a big fan of just flat tracks. I like the elevation change and things like that. And it just, to me, it's just not a track I thoroughly enjoy. Did a little practicing tonight. Jason Phillips was gracious enough to throw up a practice session. He does that almost every week, which is really awesome. And myself and a lot of the guys who jump in really appreciate the fact that he does that for us. I don't dislike Silverstone. It's going to be interesting. A lot of fast right-handers, so could be interesting with if guys choose to maybe take left if they can get them, for quote free during their pit stop. If you need enough fuel where you can get tires in the same amount of time, it's a no-brainer. So it could be interesting with the shakeup. I'm not too sure what car is going to be uberly dominant there. But it'll be a good send off to this season. Into the next one.
Well.
What's that?
At dusk. I think it's at dusk, so it's going to transition into night.
It is, so a little interesting. So we should see some pretty cold. I'm thinking around track temps in the mid to high 70s, maybe. But yeah, it's going to get to nighttime, and around that track, a lot of the corners have some gnarly sausage curbs. So when it gets dark out, there's no track lighting. So it might be difficult. Some of these guys might get caught up in a surprise if they're trying to apex real early and maybe don't see an account for the sausage curbs and maybe unsettle something. And so we could see some quote drama maybe coming along tomorrow night.
You're not going to want to miss it. Aaron will be there calling the race with me. So tune in tomorrow night on the Ribbonvale Twitch and watch us send off the final race of the season for the Road Series. Before I throw it back to Ant, I just want to give one more shout out. Justin, I think you'll back me up on this one. If you saw any of the replays with Christopher Hopper, it was a new Christopher Hopper we haven't seen before. Being aggressive and challenging, working Justin Glickner for several laps before finally getting a good run out of turn 3 in the downhill kink up to turn 5 or 6 or whatever it is, going too wide through there all the way up to the chicane before he finally cleared him. That was just a Christopher Hopper that he wouldn't have done that 4 races ago even.
No, and I think maybe it's more of a Jekyll and Hyde, and hopefully this is the Chris Hopper moving forward. And I think this is a good confidence booster for him. When he started, he was I'm going to stay out of everybody's way at all costs. And
what does the blue flag mean?
Yep.
What do I do when I get a blue flag? I remember him asking.
And hopefully, I really hope that his confidence has just skyrocketed, that he can be battling with people regardless of class. It's a position on track. So I hope this variant of Chris Hopper is here to stay moving forward. I really do.
Well, thanks to the Thaler family, Justin, for putting a platform together where we can watch everybody develop. Everybody's kind of gone through an evolution this season, 20 races. It's been a lot of fun to follow it, and I'm glad to be a part of it, bring it home. So thanks to everybody. Already before we even run the race, just want to give a shout out to all the road racers for a great season. And yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you, and all our members in the Road Series and all our series for continually supporting us and choosing to race here at Midwest Motorsports. And maybe I can talk to the podcast producer, see if maybe we can do a little season preview for next season of Road when we have some more time.
Good idea.
Yeah, we'll have to get that podcast producer and you can figure out what we can do here. So I'll back you on it. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it, guys. I'm hoping I can free up some time next season and maybe get a couple road races in. I miss it. I believe it or not, miss going through all the turns and stuff. I'm watching you guys.
You'd be good at it.
Oh, dude, I used to dabble in it. I used to be pretty decent, but watching you guys do the Daytona 24 kind of lit that fire or hunger again. I want to try and get into an endurance race before the end of before all the good ones are gone, especially the 24s. So
yeah, they're coming up quick, bud. Might need to check that calendar again, and we'll be fielding teams. If not, we can find a team for you. That's not a problem.
Oh, heck yeah. All right, guys. Well, again, thanks everybody for joining in with us and listening in. Keep your eyes out if you're in the Discord channel. Keep your eyes out for the polls. Once I, learn how to do things and stop being a scrub, the polls will be hitting the Discord. We're also going to start integrating them here on the chat once I learn the capabilities. So, again, guys, bear with me here. But again, thanks for joining us on your Monday night. Catch you all next week.
Stay in your lane.